This weekend, Louisville had another violent weekend. In all, we had 16 people who were shot. 3 of those individuals have died as a result of those injuries. We are continuing to investigate all these incidents as they come in, and I'm here today to answer any questions you may have about those.
Are there any suspects or arrests in any of the cases yet?
There are, yes. Obviously, this weekend was just a few days ago. We've been actively working these cases. So there are some of those incidents. We do have identified persons of interest or suspects. We're actively working those investigations. At this point, there have not been any arrests from the homicide unit over this weekend's incidents, but there are people that we've identified as suspects.
Are you going to say what cases there are suspects or not, or leave that open right now?
Not at this time.
When you see an influx like this coming over the weekend, what does that do for homicide?
Well, obviously, the homicide unit has detectives that do an extraordinary job. This has been a very challenging time in our careers in the homicide unit. They work tirelessly long hours. Obviously, when we have a weekend like this, it takes every resource we have. Obviously, many of those detectives are working multiple cases and working multiple scenes through the weekend. So it takes a toll on all of us. But they are dedicated detectives, and they do an outstanding job.
Can you speak to how many people were present at Raggard Road, the 1:20 in the morning response on Sunday morning?
So the Raggard Road incident is actually being investigated by our non-fatal shooting unit. The homicide unit, we take all incidents where the victim dies as a result of those injuries or as a critical assault. So with the Raggard Road incident, we had multiple people who were shot at that incident. I believe the current numbers on that are we had 7 individuals who sustained injuries from gunshot wounds. An additional individual showed up today at St. Mary and Elizabeth Hospital that was at that incident. But again, that incident is being investigated by our non-fatal shooting unit. And they are still actively investigating that because it just happened, so they're still reviewing video, gathering all the information they can to actively investigate that.
Gotcha.
What's your message to the community when they see so many shootings like this? How do you give people hope that cases are going to get solved, people are working diligently on these, and to make them also feel safe?
So your police department is out there. We're there for you every day. We continue to come to work and do the best job we can. The biggest thing that we can do is the community involvement. That makes or breaks our success rate as a police department, having that community engagement, having that involvement, because a lot of times, obviously, we are not there when these incidents happen. We need the community's help because if there's witness information or something that they've heard, to pass that information along to us to help our detectives aid their investigation to make arrests and clear these crimes. And that the cornerstone of that is obviously the community that witnessed it or heard something about it, them communicating that information to us so that way we can use that information and solve these cases.
Are you all able to say at this point if you believe that these are random shootings or if they were targeted?
As far as, to my knowledge, on the homicide cases are the only ones that I can speak to for over the weekend. They all appear to be separate incidents, not related to each other.
Now, specifically, the Raggard Road incident, and I believe one of the homicides involved juveniles. A 19-year-old was killed in the one last night. Is it disheartening knowing that these kids just got out of school and were already seeing tragedy?
Absolutely. It's always a tragedy when someone gets killed. It's especially tragic when a child gets killed. Obviously, we work all the cases the same. We take every chance we can to solve that case, but it is disheartening to see such young victims.
Is it true in your experience that, as the weather warms up, as more people start to link up outdoors, is that when you start to see like the instances of the interpersonal violence go up?
I believe that when the warmer weather, when the kids are out of school, when the summertime, it does seem to be an uptick in violence. Unfortunately, it could be months we've had this year where it's not been warm. We've had very violent months this year alone. So it probably plays a component to some of that, but I wouldn't say that that's the end all be all reason behind it is the weather.
Okay. What about the factor of illegal guns? Is that a factor in any of the homicides over this weekend, or is it too early to tell?
It would be too early to tell, but again, it goes back to people who should not have a gun. Each case is going to be different. Obviously, people that shouldn't have guns shouldn't have a gun. They shouldn't kill someone. But again, that's very early as far as the trace of the guns. That's very early on in the investigations.
Are there any patterns that the homicide unit is noticing at all recently?
It's been a consistent over the last few years. Very similar. My personal opinion, as far as the reason behind the uptick in violence, there's a variety of reasons which have played into this uptick. It's been a consistent over the past several years of violence, of retaliations, of grudges, of senseless acts of violence that are retaliated against in many cases, which then escalates and continues on that cycle. Thank you.
Clarification question. You said there was a seventh victim from the Raggard Road who showed up to the hospital.
Yes,
Was that an adult or a juvenile?
Again, the information I received was from the non-fatal shooting unit prior to the press conference. They are the lead on it, but I believe that it was an adult that showed up at St. Mary and Elizabeth. But again, that investigation is being led by the non-fatal shooting unit.
Thank you.